Good evening, and welcome back. Tonight we settle into a quieter place, not at the edge of the world, but somewhere long established, where life has moved the same way for many years. Wherever you are, allow your breathing to slow and let your thoughts gently loosen, like knots untangling on their own. Tonight's story takes us to a monastery in the high hills of medieval Japan, a place of stillness, routine, and quiet devotion. But this is not a story of discovery or distant lands. It is the story of a man who never left, and the single night when he began to see what had always been in front of him. Long ago, surrounded by cedar trees and soft mountain mist, there stood a small wooden temple. Its roof curved gently toward the sky, its beams darkened by time, its floors worn smooth by many footsteps. Seasons passed over it without resistance. Spring brought pale blossoms that drifted silently across the courtyard. Summer filled the air with warmth and the quiet hum of insects. Autumn laid down red and gold leaves, soft as cloth beneath the feet. And winter wrapped everything in stillness. Within this temple lived a monk named Haru. He had been there for many years, long enough that the rhythm of the place had become part of him. Each morning, before the sun fully rose, he would wake, not to an alarm, not to a voice, but to the natural quiet shift of night into day. He would dress slowly, in simple robes, fold his bedding, and step into the cool air of the courtyard. There he would sweep, not quickly, not as a task to complete, but as something to move through. The broom brushing lightly against wood, the faint sound of leaves gathering together, the small, repeating motion. Afterward, he would sit, cross-legged, facing the garden, breathing. This was his life. Not exciting, not changing, but steady. And for many years, that had been enough. Or perhaps he had simply never questioned it. Because Haru did not think much about his life. He moved through it, like wind through trees, present but without resistance. Until one evening, late in autumn, something small shifted. It had been a quiet day, fewer visitors than usual, fewer voices in the halls. By nightfall, the temple had grown almost completely still. Haru finished his duties, extinguished the lanterns one by one, and stepped into the courtyard. The air was cool. Leaves rested across the ground, unmoving. The sky above was clear, scattered with quiet stars. He had stood here many times before. Nothing was different, and yet something felt unfamiliar. He could not name it, so he remained where he was, listening. At first, there was nothing, just the distant hush of wind through the trees, the faint creak of wood settling. But then, slowly, he began to notice more. The way one leaf shifted slightly, though there was no breeze, the soft rhythm of his own breathing, the quiet weight of his body against the ground. These were things he had always experienced, but never truly noticed. Haru lowered himself to sit, not out of habit, but because it felt natural in that moment. He did not close his eyes, he simply looked, at the courtyard, at the leaves, at the space between them. Time passed. He did not measure it, there was no need. And as he sat there, something within him began to settle, more deeply than it ever had before. Not into sleep, not into thought, but into a quiet awareness. He realized, slowly, that for years he had been present, but not fully here. Always just slightly ahead, moving to the next task, the next moment. Even in stillness, he had been moving. But now, there was nowhere to go, nothing to prepare, nothing to complete, only this. The night air, the unmoving leaves, the quiet rise and fall of breath. And for the first time, that was enough. The feeling did not arrive suddenly. It unfolded slowly, like light spreading across the ground at dawn. There was no realization to hold on to, no words forming in his mind. Only a soft, steady clarity that this moment, exactly as it was, did not need to be changed. Haru remained there for a long time, long enough that the cold deepened and the stars shifted slightly overhead. And in that quiet, another awareness came, even softer than the first. He noticed the memory of other evenings passing faintly through his mind, not as thoughts to follow, but as distant impressions. Nights when he had stood in this same place, yet felt nothing in particular. Moments that had passed unnoticed, like footsteps fading behind him. He did not regret them. There was no need. They simply existed as part of the same quiet path that had led him here. The temple itself seemed different now, not changed, but revealed. The worn wood beneath him carried years of quiet movement. The stones held the memory of countless seasons. Even the air felt layered, as if time itself rested gently within it. And for a brief moment, Haru felt a quiet connection to it all. Not as something separate, but as something within the same stillness. The thought did not linger. It did not need to. Like everything else, it simply passed, leaving behind only calm. Eventually he stood, not because the moment had ended, but because it no longer needed to continue. He stepped back inside, the wooden floor cool beneath his feet, the dim interior wrapped in quiet shadow. And when he lay down to rest, there was no lingering thought, no question, no searching, only rest. In the days that followed, nothing changed. The temple remained the same. The routines continued, morning sweeping, evening stillness. But within those moments, something had softened. He no longer moved toward the next task. He simply moved within the one he was in. The sound of the broom became clearer, the feeling of the air more noticeable, the silence deeper. Even the smallest pauses held a quiet fullness. Moments that once passed unnoticed now settled gently, like leaves finding their place. And each evening, when he stepped into the courtyard, he would pause, just slightly. Not to repeat that night, not to recreate anything, but to allow the moment to be exactly what it was. And now, as this story comes to a close, you can do the same. There is nowhere you need to go, nothing you need to follow. Only the quiet rhythm of your breath, the gentle stillness around you, and the simple permission to rest exactly where you are.